The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download their top-rated app and use promo code RTRS. Brought to you by Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged on vacation until Tuesday. Body Bio, supplements for a healthier life. Get 20% off anything at bodybio.com with code RTRS20. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And Kinetic Skateboarding. Get 9.1% off your first order with promo code Dave Silver. On the show today, as promised on Wednesday, we'll not talk about Ben Simmons and his trade request. We'll not talk about Joel Embiid. We'll likely not even talk about the Sixers unless Mike has discovered that Charles Bassey, unless somebody's gone on the deep dive, but unless that's happened. So we figured you needed a break. We certainly needed a break. So we have a lot of listener questions about everything but that stuff. Before we get going, the Bark in the Park Run team to support Providence Animal Center. The event is on October 23rd, is up to 26 members. Our goal is 100, and we are up to like $4,600 raised, and our goal is $15,000. The event October 23rd in media. And if you join the team and raise at least $75, you get our cool new Bark in the Park Run team shirt, which says Adopt Don't Shop, has Rebel on the front, and the back is every Good Boy Club and Good Girl Club and Process Pup member, like the shirt, but for dogs and cats. So you can do that. Just go to rightstoRickySanchez.com to sign up. And thank you to Big Barker and By Nature Pet Foods, who are paying for the T-shirts and sponsoring the team. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who is dog sitting once again. That is Mike Levin.
That's right. It is John and Colleen's, I think it's their 10th wedding anniversary.
Oh.
So they went on a little trip, and who do they call to drink their booze? But us. It's us.
I was going to say, you said 10th wedding anniversary. I was going to say 10th vacation this year. It seems like they go away a lot. I mean, God bless them, but it seems like they go away a lot. Yeah,
they had a couple things. There was a stretch in the summer when Colleen was all over the place. I think because she works. When the NFL season happens, it's everything.
Oh, right.
Locked in, so they try to do a bunch of stuff when it's off season.
Well, here we go. Thankfully, no Sixers news to report and no Ben Simmons news to report. So we have a list of just great questions from Reddit and from Twitter. That some about peeing, some about lots of stuff, but especially peeing, but most notably not about Ben Simmons or the Sixers. I'd like to start this one. This one was not submitted on Twitter or Reddit. It was just a mailbag question, but I thought to get the show started off the right way, it sort of had the right vibe I was looking for. I'm not going to read this person's name. It will be anonymous because he says, I would like to remain nameless if you use this in the pod, please. At your current age, height, and weight, how confident are you that you could beat up a kid of a certain age? Meaning, I am confident that I could beat up 100% of all blank-year-olds in the world in a one-on-one fight. So what age are you confident that you could always win the fight? I don't want to taint your answer with his answer. I'm just curious. I've been thinking about it for like 3 days, so I think I have my answer. What is your answer?
So I have a question. Just one kid. It's not we're fighting all of them at once.
No, one kid.
It's not a baby situation.
Yeah, but you have to be confident that any kid of this age, there isn't an outlier kid.
But there's definitely so many outlier kids of ridiculous ages.
Well, that's part of it. Like, you have to get to the age where even if there's an outlier, that you're sure you could win the fight.
I would say there's got like, I feel like saying like 13, there's an outlier. I feel like that's too deep into it.
Oh yeah.
So I would say like I'm confident I could beat up all 10-year-olds. I'll stick with 10.
Okay. So his answer was 11. He said there has to be a 12-year-old that can box and beat me up.
Yeah.
So I originally was at your age, 10. And then I was like, I don't know. I've seen some 10-year-olds do some karate, really fuck shit up. And if I'm giving, I want to be clear, we are not suggesting that we are going to fight children or that anyone fight children.
Who could read into that and think that that's what we're saying?
I just want to be clear.
Who is thinking being like Mike and Spike are saying that they're going to fight kids? Spike's trying to fight every 10-year-old in the world.
I just don't want to be aggregated. I don't want to be aggregated on this one.
Well, that I get.
All right. I would have to go to 8.
It's safe. It's very safe.
Yeah,
it's a little soft, but it's safe.
I'm really thinking about it. Is there a 9-year-old somewhere that is like just fucking ripped, or like the karate thing or jujitsu or something like that? And my guess is that kids are aging physically quicker than they were when, and this is part of the calculus that you don't have to worry about. But me, I'm 45. I have a bad back and a bad hip. The 9-year-old catches me with the wrong punch. I would say 8. I'm going with 8-year-olds. I'm confident that I could beat up all 8-year-olds.
Great.
Yeah. This one comes from Anthony. Anthony wants to know, what is your favorite cartoon? Were you ever a Simpsons guy or a South Park guy? I assume we're including those.
Yeah, definitely a South Park guy. A lot of people, I don't know if I might have told the story on the podcast before, and my friends still make fun of me for it to this day. I used to middle school lunch, like 7th grade lunch. We would every Thursday afternoon we'd come in having watched South Park the night before, and talk about it and talk about like what was funny and what our favorite jokes were, all that stuff. And I would always forget like some things. And so I was like, okay, this time I'll like write it down. Like I'll write down my favorite jokes from the episode. And like I brought in like a piece of printer paper. Like I remember it wasn't a lined piece of paper, it was a white piece of paper. Okay. I brought it in, I unfolded it, and my friends started just roasting me for taking notes on South Park. Just like
really?
for years after, to this day, people that still listen to this podcast obviously will remember the story if they were there. So me taking notes on South Park was something I got made fun of for. But I'm a comedy writer, so now joke's on them. So fuck them.
I was gonna say I don't know. That seems like a completely reasonable thing to do.
I know, but it seemed at the time it felt like I get it. I get where they're coming from and why taking notes on South Park is something we made fun of. I haven't watched South Park in a long time. Simpsons. I'm actually watching Simpsons from the beginning right now.
Oh wow!
Just as like as a show to have on before bed type of thing. But
did you ever see?
Definitely wasn't like a Simpsons kid.
Did you ever see? Well, because it was probably before you, certainly in the beginning, right?
The beginning. Like glory days were definitely a little before my time.
I remember when it was a cartoon on the Tracy Ullman show. It was like a short that they did, and that was how it started. And it's amazing to look at the beginning of it to see how different they looked. And The Simpsons was definitely more like subversive and weird, I would say, in the Tracy Ullman days than it eventually became. It is amazing that it survived, that it's still on and it survived so long. I haven't watched it in 10 years easily, but
yeah, people that watch it say it hasn't been good in like 20 years, which is a shocking sentence to say. Smithers is black in the early seasons, which is
Oh, really?
Which is, yeah, I was like, I don't know what happened there. Unclear what caused the change. Add that to the Charles Bassey list of things I want to find out about. An expose on why Smithers was black and no longer is. Other favorite cartoons. I mean, like I grew up on like Hey Arnold was a great one. I watched a lot of Ren and Stimpy and Recess. That kind of like late 90s type of vibes, and Doug for sure.
Ren and Stimpy, all-timer. My favorite was...
Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah.
Also good.
My favorite was a Saturday morning cartoon that I don't think anyone else loved, but I don't wonder how long it was on, called Bobby's World. That was Howie Mandel did the voice of a child, and I always thought it was really funny. I haven't watched it in years, but I loved Bobby's World. I liked I was a little too old for like Doug or those things, but Ren and Stimpy was on late at night. I remember watching that, and I loved The Simpsons when it was in its day. I was never a huge South Park guy. Enjoyed South Park. Another incredible that's been on so long. I mean, that's probably been on. It's been on since I've been in college, so 25 years, right? I mean, close to it, something like that.
In their 20s for sure. I also really liked. This is an old cartoon. I mean, who didn't watch Scooby Doo and stuff? But there was a show. There was like a Hanna-Barbera, almost like mashup show called Wacky Races that would be on late at night, and it was definitely from like the 60s or 70s, some like era, but it was like just them racing, a bunch of like different cartoons racing and like trying to sabotage each other, and I always enjoyed it. It was definitely like I'm sleeping at my grandparents' house and you're watching Wacky Races. It's like 11:30 at night, and I'm like still awake, and I'm watching Wacky Races.
This came from Eric. What would it take for Mike to kayak down 676?
A lot of money. That's bad water, man. Don't do that.
Awful water. I mean, I'm sure you saw the video of the guy jumping into it, and I think the health commissioner or something from Philadelphia said non-jokingly that person should get a tetanus shot after doing that. It's disgusting. The sewage and the just awful. Hey,
man, I saw somebody backflip in there, and then somebody, and then he goes, "Yeah, my legs are still kind of slick." It's like, that's rough. That's not what you want.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Body Bio. Body Bio. We love Body Bio, sponsoring MOC's writing. RTRS 20, if you go to bodybio.com. They're a supplement company, but not a huge one. They're just big enough to make sure that they can keep up on all the science, right? They're constantly investing in that. But since they're family-owned, family-operated from the area, they can change their stuff as science changes, which is super important. We've told you about Elite. I got a lot of emails about Elite, using that. Elite is the hydration formula you just put in your water. I told you about Calm. Now, the one we're focusing on, is liposomal vitamin C. So, the immune system, health, all that stuff has been obviously top of mind for people. And a lot of people take vitamin C supplements. Vitamin C really important for your immune system. Problem is, vitamin C in food and vitamin C supplements are water soluble. So you take in all this vitamin C, you piss it all out, because you're not all of it, but a lot of it, your body doesn't absorb because it is water soluble. So it doesn't get to where it has to go. So Body Bio made liposomal vitamin C, which is made from lipids, and it waits to get to your cells before your body absorbs it. So even though you're taking in the same milligrams of vitamin C, your body is actually absorbing more of it. Vitamin C is super important, and this is the way to take it. So go to bodybio.com. Make sure you find liposomal vitamin C. Make sure you buy it, and make sure you use code RTRS20 at bodybio.com for 20% off everything, as long as you want. Bodybio.com, bodybio.com. And definitely the guy who jumped into 676 and backflip should take the liposomal vitamin C, like a couple of pills. This comes from Spectre LOG on Reddit. For Mike, what is the best and worst thing about living in Los Angeles? It's lame to say, but the weather is awesome, right? I mean, that has to be near the top, right?
Sure. The worst is definitely like the sprawl.
Yeah.
How just unwalkable it is, and how few neighborhoods are walkable. That is tough. The traffic is not, if you plan for it, it's not as bad as the Reputation. The best, I enjoy being here. The weather's definitely it. I like my job and career path. That's good. The Rams? No, I'm just kidding. The food. Yeah.
Every time I go out there, I realize how easy it is to eat healthy, even at restaurants, just because everybody is pretty health conscious out there. And you mentioned walking. My brother lives in West Hollywood and has since he went out there. And one of the things I liked about that area is it felt like there were places you could walk to, whereas a lot of those areas there aren't. And I think the traffic thing, the reason it's so bad is because everything is so spread out. So there's so much. Like you almost have to do it to get anywhere is the thing that I remember from it. This comes from Gold Roger on Twitter. We've told this story several times, but new listeners all the time. How did you guys meet, and what was the discussion like to get the podcast started?
It wasn't like a discussion. Like it was just like we're doing it. It just started happening.
Yeah. So Mike wrote for Liberty Ballers, said something derogatory about my father.
That's right.
I think I commented on the article that it was funny. Mike joined my now defunct, obviously, late night WIP show a few times. And then we just did it. Yeah, I don't remember the let's do a podcast every week discussion. It just sort of happened. No. And there wasn't anything else there. So
no, you had like several other, it was just you doing it with other people.
Yeah, I had, I had like a gambling podcast and a football one, but this was the one that stuck. So that's the whole story. This comes from Honey Badger 149 on Reddit. Do you guys think aliens exist, and when does Mike think the invasion will be?
I probably don't think aliens exist, is my kind of a bummer answer. Like they would have been here already. Like I just
in any form?
In some, maybe not like a sentient, I don't know. Maybe there's like little worms and stuff like worming around other planets or something. Are those aliens? I don't know. But I don't know that the like popular culture like idea of aliens just like coming down and being like, we're fucking here.
Yeah.
Guess what? I don't. That doesn't seem. It seems like it would have happened already.
So that I've been down this road a lot, and I'm very interested in it. That is the easiest answer as to why they don't exist is like, where are they? You know, like if they're intelligent and they've been here, and everybody's got a camera on their phone, and we've got this amazing technology, like why is the only thing we have like grainy pictures of lights? The answer could be the universe is so big that they just haven't gotten here yet. Or the answer could be they've been here and they were completely uninterested and they don't exist in the way... Sure. You know what I mean? Like maybe...
Like, them being bored is a good explanation of being like, these people are not interested. There's nothing for me here. It's like, okay.
And if they're like so far advanced that their physical form is less than what our physical form is, yet like maybe we're just far behind them. I would have to imagine, if I had to bet, there just has to be life somewhere else. The universe just fucking keeps going and going and going and going. It seems impossible that there couldn't be. I don't know. I don't want them to visit because just the fucking lunacy. I just don't want to live through it. I want it to happen maybe the day before I'm supposed to die would be fine.
Sure. We're so busy, so many plans.
Yeah.
Fucking wedge in aliens. Nobody want to hang out.
Yeah. Do you have are you an alien movie guy that you like? I love Arrival. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I really like Arrival.
Yeah.
I think it's a great movie.
And I love scary alien movies, but I like the idea of Arrival, of the way that it happened. I thought it was pretty interesting. I loved Arrival. This comes from Remy on Twitter. I lived in Delco for a year, 20 years ago. Only since I've been back into the Sixers and listening to you guys that I realized Delco had such character stereotypes attached to it. How would you describe Delco? And are there other counties in the area that have such stereotypes?
That's
I mean, yeah. Well, okay, are there other counties? There are no other counties that are as definable, I don't think, as Delaware County. I think you could say Northeast Philadelphia is pretty definable. And you could say what a Bucks County person is, but it's certainly not as interesting as Delco.
Well, there's certainly different parts of the city that have the neighborhoods and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're saying county specific.
Right. So one thing that has happened certainly over the last decade or so is that Delco has leaned into being Delco, which makes it even more Delco than it was. One of the defining characteristics of Delco as I was growing up is that they just never went into Philadelphia. So the only thing that existed to them was Delco. I guess I just wouldn't know how to describe it. I know how to describe the differences in the different parts of Delco and the different like levels of Delco-ness to it. Like, like Ridley or Essington or something is very high. I grew up in Glen Mills, which is Delaware County, but it's like fake Delaware County. It's not real Delaware County. My wife grew up in Drexel Hill, which is definitely Delaware County. I don't know. I think it's one of those things that is described by its traits, which everyone can identify, but I wouldn't know how to describe it past that, if that makes any sense. But I don't think that there's any other county in the area that is as definable.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever been to Delco. I don't know.
What? You've been to media or something, right?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so.
Well, are you from like Upper Dublin or Lower Moreland or something like that?
Like close to Lower Moreland, like northeast into Bucks County kind of thing.
Okay.
My impression of a Delco is just like an Eagles fan tailgating and like the Jetro lot. Like that's just the general vibe that I get. A white Eagles fan, typically. White man Eagles fan.
So I was this is the best way. Oh, congratulations, by the way. I can't believe it took me this long. Joe, my brother-in-law, who runs and owns Fans of Philly, got married on Thursday night to Paige. If you've been on any of the Fly the Process trips, Paige was there. You obviously know Joe because anyone who's been on the Fly the Process trip has his cell phone number because he fucking gives it out to every person who's on the trip because of the lunatic. But
you give out my address to whoever wants it. So what is him giving out his phone number when he's running the trip?
You got a B-Ball Paul, like whole outfit out of it.
Just to whoever, just anybody. Just come on over.
I thought
aliens, come on by. Just stop at Mike's place.
I thought it was the B-Ball Paul Company when I gave it out. Congratulations to Joe. Joe's friends, that is Delaware County, right there. Like those guys are Delaware County. Like I was at a wedding on Thursday night for Joe, and there was a lot of Delco, but there's a lot of similarities to the Northeast from Delco. Anyway, too much Delco. This comes from
Korkmaz just posted an Instagram where he looks great.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
In these shorts, it's like there's a filter in there. He's sweaty. He's got
there's
nice
some
socks.
good sun, right? In the picture.
It looks like it's indoors, so no sun, but some light filtration definitely happening. Good for Korkmaz. Get those likes up, bud.
I like his Instagram is like delightfully innocent, even when he's posting thirst pics like that. Like everything about it seems very Korkmaz. From Lickface on Reddit, do you refer to Gatorade flavors as the color or the flavor? I think this is easily the color, right?
Yeah. I got some last week actually for the first time in years.
What color?
Some yellow. I think that's the one I would say lemon lime because it's an easy way to say. But I got lemon lime and then blue. But Alyssa got mad at me because she wanted red.
I was an orange guy when I got regular Gatorade, and when I got the lower calorie Gatorade, it was the purple. But now I'm an E-Lite guy, so I don't need Gatorade. Fuck Gatorade. Fuck it to the sun. I drink E-Lite. From Bored Ann Gets Paid on Twitter, I already know this answer. I'm just curious about your answer. Is Spike still watching 90 Day Fiancé? If so, curious to hear his take on the favorite couple. That show is on so much, I never even know what season anything is anymore. So, and there's spin-off shows and all that kind of stuff. So I don't watch it anymore. I wouldn't even know what the current season is. Is Alyssa still watching it? Are you ever 90 Day Fiancé or no?
I'm not a 90 Day guy. Alyssa Taylor is a huge,
yes.
My girlfriend, and Taylor, her co-host on the Table Flipping podcast. Taylor Michek is a huge 90 Day person and has gotten Alyssa into it. But so she's watched a couple seasons that I've checked in on. It seems very upsetting. It just seems like an upsetting show. Not that other shows aren't, but no, it's never quite gotten into my reality watching.
Well, it seems like this is my impression of 90 Day Fiancé. The big white lady who married the guy from Africa seems like, and she's always yelling at him. It seems like they've been on 7 straight seasons of the show. Like every time the show is on, I see those two fighting about something, like him liking other girls' pictures on Instagram or something, and her yelling at him. Like that at least 3 years, I feel like that part of the show has been going on. So, Kinetic Skateboarding sponsors AU. I feel like AU's off-season writing has been amazing. Kinetic Skateboarding for all your skateboarding, snowboarding needs, but also great gear, great sneakers. This week they had or actually today releases the Nike Dunks High Pro Black Varsity Maze, a.k.a. the reverse goldenrod. First come, first served. KineticSkateboarding.com. Use promo code DaveSilver for 9.1% off your first order. This comes from Matt. Tips on raising kids as Philadelphia sports fans. I feel like it's a great scenario because it teaches them that life is tough and unpredictable, but you got to keep hope alive. But also not great because it teaches kids to be okay with abusive relationships. Don't Philadelphia sports fans just lean into how tough it is or whatever? I mean, there are plenty of other cities that have it worse than Philly, right?
Sure.
As far as sports fans go. And I'm not even talking about like the one team cities, like, well, Buffalo has 2 teams, I guess. I don't think Philadelphia sports history is that bad. I feel like Philadelphians...
Well, it's quite bad for 2 decades. And then the Eagles had a nice little run, and then the Phillies won one, and then it was bad for a little bit, and then it was another Eagles win. So
yeah, the 80s were pretty decent, obviously. Sure. 90s and aughts, I guess, were not good. From low, I don't think, I don't know.
You let him. I think just get him a jersey, get him or her or them a jersey, and apologize for the rest of your life.
From Load Management Life on Reddit, another sort of alien question, but a little bit different. A lot of people debate whether time travel is possible, with some even suggesting that a bunch of the weird phenomena that has been observed, including UFOs, etc., are the result of time travelers from the future. Personally, I think if it were possible, the world would have already been destroyed. What are your thoughts on time travel?
Yeah, probably the same logic with the aliens. I wish that, not that like us talking about it is doing anything, but like the people that have all the money that are like playing with their like imagination would do a better job of like doing like problems that actually currently exist, like various swaths of the planet being on fire, or the 76 being flooded enough to kayak in, etc. And I'd have to fix that shit rather than trying to relive out a Back to the Future type dream. But I get why it's fun to talk about. It's fun. I enjoy time travel films and media, but I agree that if it existed, it would have existed by now. Maybe that's a very like now centric take. I don't know, but it's like we've been around long enough. Somebody would have fucking plowed in here and said, "Come with me if you want to live."
Well, if you look at the speed that technology has advanced within the last 20 years compared to the previous 100, one could make the argument that our next 50 years will change, will change how we live more than the previous 1,000 or something. I don't believe that time travel is possible because I don't think the universe exists like that. Though, going back to Arrival, that is sort of like a time travel take on time that movie is. If you haven't, I don't want to. I feel like I've spoiled another movie. You should see Arrival. There's an interesting theory on time travel in that. Though I do disagree on the what people should be working on thing. It's sort of like, to an extent, like, why is this guy, at the club when he should be practicing his jump shot. I do think that there is a way to like plan for the future and explore and have one person work on one thing while somebody else works on another. And I do think like it's sort of the debate about space travel is like, well, you know, our planet here is a mess. And like part of it is the planning for what to do if we're not able to live here, and somebody's got to do it. So
I don't know. If one person is doing the planet here, they're not doing a good job.
Well, but there's a lot of people working on the
planet. I know, but you said one person does this, one person does that. I maybe have more people on the fact that things are on fire and flooding and hurricaning and tornadoing and all the fun stuff. Bad time. Now we're getting into the Sixers again.
You can do both. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez is brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds, proudly sponsoring the Bark in the Park run team. Again, thank you, Big Barker. All the process pups will be on the back of the shirt. If you've seen the back of the shirt and your process pup name is not on it, we weren't like scientific about it. Tanner just went through all the pictures and took all the names. So if we're missing you, send us an email, rightsrickysanchez@gmail.com. Do it quickly. Big Barker dog beds are what your dog should be sleeping on. One thing we got on Reddit was somebody that had claimed I had guilted them into the Big Barker dog bed. And that is what I'm attempting to do, in that my dog has 2 of them. Now, I guess it's easier for me because they sponsor us, but your dog should definitely at least have 1 because it is healthier for him. You need to keep your dog healthy. You got to keep your dog living and healthy forever. Your dog, Rebel jumps up and runs through shit, and I want him to be able to do that forever without his joints getting creaky and all that kind of stuff. And dogs have joints just like us, develop arthritis just like us, and the Big Barker dog bed has been proven by a study at Penn Vet to minimize those symptoms for small dogs, for big dogs, for young dogs, for old dogs, all that kind of stuff. BigBarker.com/Ricky, BigBarker.com/Ricky. That's where you go. You get the Big Barker dog bed with 2 processed pup patches, and that way you can put the processed pup patch on the bed, make your dog an official processed pup. I'm very proud of our relationship with Big Barker, and I think they are a great company, also a local company, that makes a great product and stands behind it. A 10-year warranty, which is pretty wild. Any of those dog beds you see at the pet store not coming with 10-year warranties. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, they'll give you a refund and even pay for the shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. I'm prepared for you not to have an answer for this, but Michael on Twitter would like to know your favorite album covers. His is Van Halen's 1984, which is a great album cover. Do you have one? I can't imagine you do.
I'll say Wilco, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot.
That's a good album cover. Just look at the Ricky t-shirts and then you can see which ones I like the best. I love the cover of Appetite for Destruction, and I love the cover of And Justice for All. I do think I was looking at the cover for Puff Daddy and the Family's No Way Out earlier this week, and it is glorious as a time capsule how hilariously epic that album cover is. Sepia filter before anyone even used them. I really like the cover of No Way Out, again, as a time capsule. See, Ready to Die is also a great album cover. But my favorites are Appetite for Destruction and Justice for All. From Reddit, have you ever had a free continental breakfast at a hotel that you were not staying at?
No.
Me neither. No. Maybe if I was at a conference or something, but I've never just stopped in and gotten a continental breakfast. From Jake on Twitter, mostly for Spike. I would suppose this is all for me, given the question. When you get a new tattoo, how fully formed is the idea before you take it to the artist? Do you have a sketch drawn out, or do you just describe it to them and let them figure out the rest? There are some people that are overly precious about the design. I have found that for the tattoo artists, if you want to get the best out of that tattoo artist, not that an artist can't do that, if you give them the idea and let them do it in their own image, in their own style, you will get a more engaged tattoo artist and a more successful tattoo, but you have to trust them a little bit. I found that the ones that I've worked with are always good about adjusting things that you don't like. At this point, I'm sort of like, I know the artists that I like and I know their styles, and I say, hey, here's my idea, could you do this? So the last few I've gotten have just been words on a page, very short words on a page, and that was it. You don't have any theories on this, I assume.
Not a single one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the last couple. Like this one is a Butch Walker album cover, but the album cover doesn't really look like that. I wanted him to do it like in a watercolor way. He did that. And then this one is a movie poster I like and an album cover I like combined that had nothing to do with each other. And I just told him to go ahead and run with it. So if you can stomach that, just find a tattoo artist that does the style you want and just sort of let them run with it, I think you'll get better work. Would you rather, I don't know the answer to this, I don't know who the second person is. Would you rather be an off-brand John Hamm or an off-brand Henry Cavill? Cavill? Do you know who that is? Does that somebody that looks like me or something?
No, Henry Cavill's plays Superman. Among other various roles. He was also a teenager in The Count of Monte Cristo, which is a movie I enjoy.
What would you rather be?
I probably off-brand Ham because he's more normal person looking. I think if I was as massive as Henry Cavill, then it would be weird to be a comedy writer.
It's like super jacked comedy writer?
Super like jacked and like thick jacked is a weird combination. I was just coming into a room just like sort of waddling in. Like that's not something I'm trying to do here.
From tweets by Tim on Twitter, what are your thoughts, Spike and Mike style? I've never seen the show, but everybody talks about it on the internet. I assume you've seen it. What are your thoughts on Ted Lasso?
Haven't seen it. Someone said that they wanted to get me on the show. I feel like I've told the story. I've told the story in enough meetings. I don't know if I told it. I did meet on the show for season 1 before it came out and everything. Met with the producers and then met with Sudeikis the next day. 2 straight days of meetings on the show. And you will be upset to know that those 2 days were on the first and second days of March Madness, which are my favorite days of the year. Mm-hmm. And so we were already a little bit like, okay, all right, we're meeting on the show. We're missing several games playing at the same time to take these meetings. And I was like, but at least they're going to hire us. And then they didn't. But it was because I think they wanted more like British writer something. So we ended up going, I think that was right before Perfect Harmony. So we went on Perfect Harmony and then got Young Rock. So it worked out. It's fine. But just to rob me of several games of basketball
and then not hire
being played at once and then not hire me, is tough. I missed the Auburn, New Mexico State game. If people remember, that was a great game. Which I've since watched highlights of, obviously, but can't be watching it at a bar at 9 a.m. So have not watched Ted Lasso. Alyssa has. She likes it. I don't think she likes season 2, but there's enough shows out there. I can watch other shows. I can hold a grudge. My grudge holding is what I think makes me the most from Philadelphia. It is what ties me to where I'm from, and so that is what it is.
I've not seen it, unsurprising to just about anyone. The minute that too many people start liking something, I have no desire to like it, so I'll probably never watch Ted Lasso. From Jackson, if you could go back and experience any historical event in history, what would that be?
Most historical events are like destruction and catastrophic, which is tough. Trying to imagine one that isn't.
Well, I wouldn't describe the building of the pyramids as an event because it happened over so many years.
If I went back, I'd be one of the people building the pyramids, and I'm not interested in that. There's just a lot of the past. There's just a lot of upsetting stuff. It'd be funny to go back with my knowledge now and see like the first basketball game ever played.
Right.
And just
knowing what it would become.
And just like making fun of them. I mean, like, you guys fucking suck. It's just like me showing up with like one dribble drive move and them like losing their minds.
You'd be a god.
I'd be a god. That would be time travel for sure. Yeah. Other than that, it seems just like the past is just only apocalyptic events.
Yeah, none. There's not really any that I'm that excited.
I would like to
check.
like check out if I had like a protective sort of cocoon where I could go back and just sort of like gloss through. I'm intrigued by going back into the past. Like we drove last weekend. I think it was last weekend when I was in Missouri for my buddy's bachelor party, and just driving through. We had to fly into Kansas City and then drive into this very remote ranch that his family's owned for like decades, and just like feeling the like, man, it would have been cool to drive through this in like the 50s or the 60s and just like seeing what it looks like, because so much of it is just like, okay, there's a Toyota dealership, like that it's the sort of like homogeneity of like everything like looks the same in different places now, but like before everything looked the same, what did it look like? So I felt like that. It was just like, it'd be cool to just like drive through the past, but never stop and never talk to anyone. Please.
Just observe. Yeah, it would be cool to see video of a lot of different things. But to narrow it down to one, I don't think there's one that pops into my head. This comes from Chris Tyrell on Twitter. When finishing a shower, do you dry off on the mat or in the shower? This is very important and 100% serious.
Half and half.
Well, so I think you would say then it's on the mat then, if it's half and half.
No, I do some drying in the shower, and then I get out onto the mat and do more drying.
Is there a specific time? Is there a specific body part that once it's dry in the shower that you move to the mat? Is like what? Could you give me a play-by-play?
I would say I do front half in the shower, some hair in the shower, and then to the mat for back and butt and more hair.
Yeah, I would say the only thing I do in the shower is face and head, and then I move to the mat. I'm a mat guy, which I don't think is the right thing, honestly. We have a different shower here. It's bigger, and it has like doors rather than a curtain, and it's not in a tub. It's just a shower, and I dried off completely in there the other day, and I just thought to myself, boy, what a savage I've been, just soaking this mat that never dries and only becomes obviously disgusting because it gets wet all the time. I should have been doing it in the shower. I think the right thing is to do it in the shower, my opinion. I cut off the name of the person here. It says better bread, New York City or Philly. I don't have enough New York City experience yet, so I will... Oh, fucking rebel. There we go. So I will hold back on that. Do you have an opinion on this?
No.
No, man.
But although when I said I like whitefish salad, Weber texted me and said he has a good whitefish salad place in New York. I have to try. So yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm sure there's a billion whitefish salad places in New York, I would think. From Saquon on Reddit, this is a good question. Does it ever feel uncomfortable criticizing the performance of players that you've met and have positive interactions with in person?
No. No, not at all. Definitely not me for Ben Simmons, who I've worked with personally, and his family
didn't criticize
as well.
for a year.
No, definitely not uncomfortable whatsoever. Not remotely. Someone called me out for not being a Simmons centrist. I do think I am generally a Simmons centrist. I think I was probably more supportive, especially in that year or two. But like, I think I'm very practical about what it is. I don't think I'm towards the edge of like trade him for. I mean, at this point, I just want it to be over. But like, I'm definitely not in like the trade him for like lottery tickets, scratchers, and I'm not like he's done nothing wrong either. I do feel like I'm in the middle on things.
The thing about it is, I don't think there's a general perception sometimes that the middle is like that everything is actually in the middle, and the truth is actually in the middle.
I don't think that the truth is actually in the middle. I don't find that. I think that there's sometimes it's right and wrong. I'm certainly on the edge about plenty of things, but I think on Simmons I happen to be moderate. I
think maybe because you're on the pod with me, it makes you seem less moderate. You know, because I'm so negative about him, and you are showing the other side.
Sure.
Then that would. But I do think, like I wouldn't say this if I didn't think so. I do think the truth of Simmons is not in the middle, and I think I have been. I have talked about his good qualities before, but I think basically, basically he as he is a ceiling limiter.
We're doing basketball.
Right. Good point. Back to the original thing. It is uncomfortable. I've met several players who I've had a hard time criticizing.
Mike Scott, Korkmaz,
Mike Scott,
Covington,
hard.
Dario, Embiid.
Korkmaz, I feel like I've always been honest on. Dario at least left, and we hardly talk about him. Embiid is difficult, though I feel like I have been fair, and I've criticized him when necessary, but it is more difficult. Covington,
DJ
Elton, yes, hard, but I would also say that I do truly believe that a lot of the things that he was criticized for were not his doing. And I wasn't saying that because I know him. I was saying that because that's what I believe. So, but definitely hard for Covington.
Chris Kumaje?
Chris Kumaje I've never had to criticize. And Brett Brown for sure, though I do stand by my take that I think Brett Brown is a good coach. From Painus on Reddit, the greatest WWF, and I think he has this wrong, greatest WWF heel turn, and why is it The Rock? Wasn't the Rock was the other way around. Like, The Rock started as heel and then went face, right? Like, The Rock started as a bad guy. The best heel turn ever in WWE was Hulk Hogan, I think. Hulk Hogan joining the NWO is like ultimate good guy to ultimate bad guy. I can't think of one that's even close. Do you have an opinion?
Yeah,
on
that's
this?
certainly the popular wisdom is Hulk. Yeah, Rock's had a bunch of back and forth. That's going to be in season 2 of Young Rock, so tune in. Other ones, I mean, there's definitely when like Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty broke up. I mean, anything in the screw job. I don't know if that's a well executed heel turn or not, but it's great.
Some of my favorite wrestlers ever were the ones who were never like. I think you could argue that Bret Hart was never like total heel and was never total face, because they were bad guys in the beginning, but Jimmy Hart was really the guy that was the bad guy. And I don't think they were ever perceived as like total bad guy the way that most heels are. Like the way to get over, this is an Ange topic, but the way to get over is as a heel. And
Totally.
That's what happens. They become so popular as a bad guy, they have to make them a good guy.
Totally.
That's like
I
the
think
Daniel
also they're
Bryan
in the
thing.
70s, 80s, into the early 90s, and maybe this the mid 90s it started changing, which is right when obviously I've been focused on this because that's the part of Dwayne's life that we're focusing on right now in my episodes. But like it was very clear good guy, bad guy, and the crowd rooted for good guys and they booed the bad guys, and it was just like they're doing whatever they're told. And then I think it's into the mid 90s it became like, maybe this is because of like ECW and stuff, it became like, well, they're more discerning, and they like the bad guys, and they like, not that like Roddy Piper wasn't a guy that they rooted for and stuff and other people, but I think a discerning fan base changed it up, and it became like the gray of like, well, we like, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and Razor Ramon, and we like Stone Cold even though he's like an asshole and does bad things. It used to be like you couldn't, the good guy had to only do like good guy stuff, and then as it got to that, it changed, which is I think more entertaining.
Well, and certainly that's the Attitude Era is when Hulk became a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think that adds some of it too. And you mentioned ECW. Even before ECW, NWA, which was where Ric Flair was, and the Four Horsemen, and I think, like, while WWE was very clear, cartoonish, good guy, bad guy, I think NWA at the same time was a little less than that. Like, they were the precursor to ECW and all that kind of stuff. So, speaking of which, from Tim Perry, actually before that, final
Tim Perry.
sponsor. Yes.
Former
I don't know
Sixer.
if it's the Tim Perry. Well, his Twitter handle is normalcollar76, which would be amazing if it was the Tim Perry.
That'd be great. Vengeance for his dunk contest mistakes.
LL Pavorsky Jewelers, the original sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, on vacation right now until September 7th.
What?
Yes. The guy takes a lot of vacations. This is his second vacation of the summer.
And he doesn't ask me to dog sit.
Unbelievable. Would love for you to fly across the country to dog sit for LL.
Just me and LL's house with all the jewels at my disposal.
234 Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners have purchased engagement rings from LL Pavorsky. Just a saint
234?
of a man. 234. A saint of a man. In fact, I will say this. I was speaking to a person the other day. I'm going to be inspecific about this because I don't know who's listening, who has purchased a ring and has not quite proposed yet from LL, but the experience was amazing. He's a great guy. He takes care of everyone who comes in there. He was the first person to believe in us, and everyone who has dealt with LL, whether it's engagement ring or wedding bands or even beyond that, like anniversary presents or just a present to be nice, has loved LL. He is genuinely... Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Jake Pavorsky. It's Jake Pavorsky's birthday. What does he turn? 13.
13 years old. One of the 13-year-olds I could beat up.
Yep. I could definitely beat up Jake. Well, I don't know. I feel like I saw him last time. He was a little thicker than I
might take Jake's bike.
Yeah, I think I might take Jake too. If you need an engagement ring or any other kind of jewelry, once you get LL, then you have a jeweler for the rest of your life. He's just a saint of a man. More than 3 decades in business there at 707 Walnut. 215-627-2252. But wait until he gets back. Or you can just email him, lee@llpavorsky.com, or tweet at him at LL Pavorsky. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Ladies love paid time off.
From Tim Perry Jr., I need to hear more about Mike's trip to Las Vegas for SummerSlam.
Wow, the real wrestling segment of the podcast.
Yeah, I put them together.
We went to SummerSlam as a Young Rock Season 2 writing staff. It was at Allegiant Stadium, right, where the Raiders play in Vegas. And it was very cool. We were there for a day. We wore... mask the whole time. Was pretty scary still, but everybody tested negative afterwards, so thank God. And we had ridiculous seats because the showrunner, Nahnatchka Khan, her brother is the president of the WWE, which I think played a factor in allowing this show happening on its own. Although I think that happened after. I don't know. Well, they're also both Notch and Dwayne's company also have deals at Universal, so that was definitely the primary thing, but I think there was some facilitating going on. And yeah, we had ridiculous seats. I think I high-fived Pat.
Do you know what's,
what? Go ahead.
Do you know what's funny? You said you had ridiculous seats because of this one connection. Like, I was thinking, like, maybe you had ridiculous seats because you write for The Rock Show.
Yeah, I think it's both.
Yeah.
And let's see. Who did I try? I think I high-fived Goldberg. I think Pat got... I tried for Edge and didn't get him. I tried for Rey Mysterio, didn't get him. It was cool. We sat... it was fun to see, like, So in SummerSlam, Goldberg's 16-year-old kid, like, jumps out from the crowd and, like, goes to jump on Bobby Lashley and gets his ass kicked. And then Goldberg's, like cradling his son and being like, my boy, like all that shit. And then when the lights go down, like to start the next match, it was fun to see Goldberg's kid be like, who's like 15 or something, be like, okay, like I'm fine. Like it was just fun to see. And then Goldberg was still doing the like limping back as long as possible, like the milking of it. It was fun to see like behind the curtain a little bit. And there is no, obviously it's not like a play. There's no curtain. You're just like they're on stage until they're finally backstage, and so it was fun.
I love Goldberg.
We went backstage a little, or not backstage, but into the like, there was like an owner's box area situation, so that was cool. We got a couple drinks in there. One of the writer's assistant on the show, after much pressure, did a shoey. Are you familiar with what a shoey is? Mm-mm. A shoey is when you it's from something, and I don't remember, some like UFC fighting something where someone pours a beer into a shoe and then chugs the shoe. and it's from his own shoe. And so he did that after Edge won, after much pressure from the writing staff. Jeff, one of the writer assistants, on the floor at SummerSlam. Edge is still in the ring, does a shoey in stride, and it was beautiful. And the fans like lost their mind in our section, and like people came up to him and like gave him a high five. It was like it was a very Philadelphia thing to happen. And Joe Tessitore, who was there and is used to or still does Monday Night Football as an announcer, like caught it on video and then posted it, and it was very bizarre. It was a wild 24 hours in Vegas, very fun, and it was cool to be that close to SummerSlam. I hadn't been to a wrestling event since WrestleMania 15 in Philly, with The Rock versus Stone Cold, and Rock versus Stone Cold.
I think I've been to Raw a bunch of times, but I think the only pay-per-view I was ever at, I was at WrestleMania 4 in Atlantic City. My dad got us like third row seats or something. I think either 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 were both in Atlantic City. I love going to wrestling. The TV shows, I think my sense would be going to a pay-per-view is better than going to the TV stuff, because the TV stuff has so much downtime and the pay-per-views
I
don't.
disagree, actually. I think, especially for a lot of the writers on staff are not huge wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And so at least on TV, on like a Raw, there will be like a lot of talking and like guys going back and forth at each other. And a pay-per-view is just the wrestling. And so it was really like 3 or 4 hours of just matches.
Just wrestling.
Pretty much, except for like a couple gimmicks that like kind of didn't work. And so it was a tonnage issue, and and maybe just like length. But I mean, SummerSlam was pretty good. I enjoyed it, but I did miss like a couple. You know, you want to see like fucking like Chris Jericho come out and like do a thing and all that stuff, and there was just not as much quite talking. It was more the culmination of all the talking that finally got to it.
From Trickus Dickus on Reddit.
Trickus Dickus.
Yep. You have to give up one or the other, oral sex or cheese. Keep in mind, the one that you give up, you still have full knowledge of what it is, but no one else on earth knows. If you try to explain it, you are met with absolute disgust. Oh, so this thing just disappears off the planet, I guess.
And this is obviously when the aliens come down, this will be the choice that they give us.
Yep. Gun to all of our heads.
I've
already made this choice.
I'm mostly dairy free anyway, so it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Same, but I don't eat cheese anymore. So from Joey,
and I love oral sex on both sides of it. So let's just say what it is. Fuck you, cheese. We're doing it with mouths.
From Joey D PT12 on Twitter. What is your Eagles prediction? Will Spike return to his New York roots for all sports? Is Mike secretly becoming a Rams or Chargers fan, a la his Lakers love fest?
Oh, yeah, I love him. I think the Eagles will be bad.
Me
and
too.
I'm fine with it. Although Tony Romo is out there predicting they could surprise some people.
Yeah.
I like Jalen Hurts a lot, and I'm excited for Devontae Smith. And having some running backs who can catch seems interesting. But I think
they'll be bad.
Mostly be bad, yeah. Like
I
4 and 13, 5 and 12.
Yeah, something like that. I think though they could win 5 games. My prediction is that like Gardner Minshew is starting by week 4, week 5. That would be my calculus on that was like you don't trade for a guy who is that desperate to be a starter and has also been good if you don't have questions about the main guy. So
Jalen Hurts, I like Jalen Hurts. I think they should give him as much time as possible.
Well, I think he seems like a great guy and was a great college player. I am disturbed by the number of people who say that he is an inaccurate thrower. And like to me, that was like why I was not in on Wentz ever. And I was like, he doesn't put the ball where it's supposed to go. That's the whole job of a quarterback.
Well, just like fundamentally stupid then for them to pick him in the second round when they already had a quarterback also.
Of course.
Just
of course.
Making bad decisions forever. What an organization. Not forever, but recently.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, and then Minshew is a guy that, like, the minute he gets in there, like, it could be even a bad season for the Eagles could be fun if that shit starts happening.
I think Jalen Hurts is much. I mean, Minshew doesn't put the ball where it's supposed to go either, and Jalen Hurts at least has a ton of juice. I mean, Minshew has some juice, but
Minshew's got juice.
Hurts is more athletic by a lot, and
yeah,
faster.
Minshew's
He's with his legs.
better quarterback, I think. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think they would have traded for him if they didn't think he was going to play. My opinion. But
I disagree. Give me Jalen Hurts, and I think.
Well, then why would they trade for him? Just because they make a bad decision?
They traded for him like a 6th rounder. Like, get Flacco out of here. Who cares? Like, I don't mind developing a guy and figuring it. Whatever, you might get hurt. You don't. It's not like it costs too much, but yeah, I mean, you draft him. You draft Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round. You say he's the guy. Give him significant time. The offensive line isn't very good. There's some pass catchers, but still not many of them. Like, give him some time. Like, he's young. He's a great leader. He seems like a great kid. He's having fun out there. Like, to replace him with Minshew, who, like, he's not going to win you anything.
Well, neither is Hurts.
He might, though.
I'm cheering for him. I hope he does succeed. I just don't think they would have traded for Minshew if they thought Hurts was good. Going back to the original issue, that why did you pick Hurts in the 2nd round, is thankfully Hurts is strong enough and confident enough to not be terrified of them having another quarterback there, like some other quarterbacks we had here were. So, from Register is Pass on Reddit, what is the cornerstone of a good hoagie? The bread, the meat, the cheese, or the fixings? Personally, I think it's the bread. Seated or go fuck yourself. I mean, they're all important, right?
Yeah, all of it.
It's all important
in there.
I think that you could survive subpar meat with a great roll. I think a roll can cover up other things, like a perfect roll.
And like some good seasoning situation.
Yes. Salt, pepper, oregano, from Turn Sasha Heel, why are you a 40-year-old who calls himself Spike? I don't know. Is it more appropriate for a 12-year-old to call himself Spike? I don't.
A little bit, maybe, yeah.
Is there? It's not like a kid's name. It's just not a name. I know more adults than kids that have the name Spike. I know 2 adults. I don't know any kids that have the name Spike.
How many kids do you know? Don't you know more? Don't you know more adults than kids generally? What's the percentage of people you know who are children?
How about this? Name 1 Spike that's a child.
There's a Spike in a cartoon.
Okay.
I don't remember which.
You're
the only Spike I know that's a adult.
But there's Spike Lee, Spike Jones.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
if I started calling you Brett, what would you say about that?
Well, I don't have a problem with being called Brett. It's just that most people don't know me as that at this point. It's really just like my family. And the reason I stuck with it is because it's just what people knew me as, and they remembered it, and it was easy to remember. And then that just becomes your name if that's what people call you. The problem that I have with Brett is when people call me it like sarcastically or doing it like they know some sort of secret. Like, my name's all over the place. It's not like a secret name. I'm not hiding it. It's just not what people call me. From Brandon on Twitter, how exactly does a Positrack rear end on a Plymouth work? Hint, there is only one right answer. Answer being, I believe, it just does. I think that's the answer to that. Favorite stateside vodka soda flavor?
I surprised myself by liking the orange the most, I think.
I think it's the best one. You know, I think the lemon cucumber mint is my least favorite. I like the orange the best.
I like that one too. I like all of them. I thought I would like the black cherry the most, and I still like it, but I like the other ones more.
I would, and he asks what flavor should be added. I'm a huge grapefruit guy, as I currently drink this grapefruit Spindrift. I would love a grapefruit one. Few more. From Jay Cam on Reddit, Drake or Kanye?
I'm still marinating on Certified Lover Boy. I think most of Drake's songs sound the same, but I do enjoy them. I think Kanye's highs are higher, and the lows are very low. So whatever that answer is, I don't know.
I've never liked any Drake songs, and there are Kanye songs that I do like. So that would be my review. I didn't listen to the new Drake album. I gave the Kanye album like a half an hour, and it just seemed to drone on and on and on and on. So I didn't enjoy it. From David, what is your favorite non-Ricky podcast? As if you would say this podcast is your favorite. My podcast listening has gone in the toilet since my new job. I don't listen to any podcasts anymore, really. You?
There's a local LA podcast called LA Podcast that I really like a lot. At least podcasts that are out consistently. Table flipping, obviously. Come on, have to say it. Would say it anyway. I really like You're Wrong About. I really like the Bomani Jones podcast, although I don't like his takes about basketball. I think I'm too close to the NBA and college basketball, but because he's a generalist about stuff. But I like listening to about a bunch of other stuff. Let's see. Yeah, those are it. And I like Zach. Zach is Zach, and I like him.
Oh yeah, he hasn't put out one in a while, but I do listen to Zach, but I wouldn't say anything at this point is a must listen for me right now. I just don't have the time.
And I've been enjoying Spinsters, and we've had Haley on before. I think we're gonna have Jordan on at some point later in the summer.
And final one from Kip Astar. There's a lot more. I'm sorry, we'll get to the other ones at some point during another pod when we don't want to talk about Ben Simmons. From Kip Astar on Reddit. I'd be curious to hear yours and Mike's Phillies takes. I don't even know what to make of them anymore. They haven't made the playoffs in a decade. This season, they have a top 5 payroll in baseball. We were gifted with being in the worst division in the league. MVP level Bryce Harper, Cy Young level until recently Zach Wheeler. And here they are in September on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. Are they more painful than the Sixers? Thanks for doing the podcast.
There's an argument that they are, for sure. They've, the Phillies. Wow.
But by the way, not only have they not made the playoffs in 10 years, they haven't finished with a record over 500 in 10 years.
Yeah. Haven't been particularly close. Yeah.
To the playoffs, you mean?
To the playoffs. And I care a lot about the Phillies. I follow the minor leagues very close, like as close as anyone, more close than anyone should, for sure. And so I get invested in these guys, and then to watch them, not get. There's 4 first-round picks at AAA, just sitting there on a team that's not going to make the playoffs probably. But I'm still invested, and Harper is playing out of his mind. It's a bummer that Reese is out. Real Muto's the man. Segura's awesome. Kutch is having a nice season. There's a bunch of good players. I think Girardi's probably an idiot. There just hasn't been enough. It seems like every new person that gets to the organization is like, okay, got to do it, and then it's just like it's still building on a faulty foundation, and they've had for them to have not made the playoffs for 10 years and also have a pretty low farm system and a low success rate of developing players that they do like. It's an indictment on the whole organization, and that because they should be making the playoffs, they should be doing more. There's a chance that they get in because the Braves are banged up, or the various wild card possibilities. It's the Phillies. There's an argument to me that they're more depressing than the Sixers, but because they won a championship within the last 20 years, it's still not, I would say, not close.
This year's Phillies just don't have enough good players. It's a top-heavy lineup, and the top part of it isn't even that heavy, really. Beyond Harper. JT Realmuto is the guy's the OPS every year is 780. He's a good player and all, but if his value is in the fact that he's a good catcher too. They just don't have enough good players. And everything you said about farm system is right. You see these teams contenders continually reload at the trade deadline and still somehow have young players afterwards. It's just don't have enough good players. It's been mismanaged for a while. So curious to see what happens after this year, whether they make the playoffs or not. All right. Well, maybe something will happen before the next pod. Maybe it won't. It was nice to I apologize for the brief time I did talk about Ben Simmons. I felt like I was tricked into it, but I'm sorry for that 1 minute segment. But the rest of it, I hope was a nice break and not talking about this.
I have my fantasy football draft in an hour.
Oh,
the long-running How I Met Your Mother Fantasy Football League continues.
Mm-hmm.
We are reigning champs. My buddy Shane and I, our team, the Pigskin Tight Jeans, looks to repeat, and so that's my mindset going in, looking to repeat.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
The only time I've ever won a fantasy championship, I quit after the year, and I said I had nothing left to prove.
That's right.
I will never play fantasy sports ever again.
And Legs is still throwing the league into turmoil ever since.
Yeah. I'm very proud of him. There is nothing that would have been easier to predict than Legs causing controversy with under-the-table dealings. So,
absolutely.
Good work by Legs. All right, we'll talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, like this.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
Then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you! That's a plan B.